Welcome to With Creative Company, a podcast where we dive deep in all things business as creatives. We give our personal take on things that actually move the needle, and also chat with entrepreneurs about their experiences in running a business. I'm Jordan. I'm Mamie. Let's get creative. Welcome.
Thank you.
So happy to have you. Hello, everybody. This is Ashley. She is our guest today. She is the owner, operator of Silver Celebrations, which is a sought-after wedding planning service. She has an entire team, and she does amazing work. And she's also a wife and mother of 3. She kind of does it all.
Not all.
But yeah, welcome, Ashley. Thank you so much for being here. I'd love to just kind of toss it over to you and talk about your business. Give us some promotion. Tell us what you do.
Love a good promo. So Silver Celebrations, I do a good amount of weddings, but we do all sorts of events as well. So not just weddings, we do a lot of like corporate conferences, a lot of things within the music industry, whether it's like album release parties or showcases, like #1 parties, like all different kinds of things. We've done, after parties for CMAs and things like that. So just really any sort of creative celebration, birthday parties, anniversaries, really whatever. But our bread and butter is typically weddings. And it's been really fun. I've been doing it for 15 years now. So I started doing them in California before I moved here, and then moved here to Tennessee 13 years ago. Took a little bit of time off because I was overwhelmed and young, and I was like, I'm working 80 hours a week, and when do I sleep or have friends?
Right.
And so it took a few years off when I first moved here, and that kind of just opened up a lot of doors, and I met a lot of people those first few years here, and then I kind of started doing enough events on the side, like freelance, that at one point my now husband was like, you're kind of spending a lot of time doing that. Why don't you just do that? And I was like, oh, okay. So it kind of just, I guess if it weren't for his little like nudge there, I might still just be doing it kind of freelance. But he was like, this is kind of turning into a full-time job, so you should probably just make it one.
It sounds like all of our husbands pushed us in our...
We love the supportive partner to full-time entrepreneur pipeline.
Yeah, it happened. It was a very quick jump. It was like one day we were not doing it, and the next day we were very much doing it.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it's been about 9 years of Silver Celebrations specifically, but it's been great. It's been a wild ride. Awesome. Luckily, it hasn't really lulled at all. Like it's kind of just like grown each year. I have a wonderful team of people, which has obviously been very helpful, especially in these past few years since having kids. I'm still just as hands-on, but it's nice to be able to have a team that you love and trust and know that they don't need a ton of direction. They just know how things operate within the team, and if I ever needed to leave early or not be there or something like that, I know that they would have it handled. I wouldn't have to be concerned about something not going well.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
That is helpful.
That's incredible. Well, I'd love to just kind of get right in.
Yeah.
So I think something you said just now, which is great, is that you haven't really had a lull in business, which is awesome, because we do live in such a saturated industry in this town, specifically in Nashville. The wedding industry is booming, if you will. It's wild. So what do you think makes you guys kind of set apart and keep that business throughout these crazy years?
Well, I think, first of all, like you said, I think it's very saturated, but I also think that there is a client for everyone, in the sense that Nashville is bachelorette capital of America. You know what I mean? So not that I'm planning bachelorette parties, but I feel like so many people come to Nashville. I don't know the exact statistic, but I know it's something like Nashville is within an 8-hour drive of 2/3 of America's population.
Wow.
Or something crazy. I don't know if that's the exact
No, I think that's
statistic,
right. Yeah.
but it's something like that, to where so many people come here that don't even live here to get married.
Yeah.
Because they're I have family in New York and LA, so this is a fun destination for both of them that's halfway. So I think that's kind of helpful. And I feel like I really try and have those conversations with potential clients beforehand. I try and get to know them. I feel like that's really important as a planner. I think you spend most of your time when planning an event with like the planner and the photographer.
Yeah.
Like that's who you're spending your day with. Like the other vendors are all super important, but you don't necessarily need to click with them on a personal level as much. And I feel like that's really important to me to be able to do the best job possible is to really like get to know the clients that we're working with, to make the best recommendations. Like, hey, based on your style, based on your budget, based on your venue, based on XYZ, like this is what I recommend for you. And you're not able to do that if you don't have a good relationship with them to start with. So just as far as like, you know, being different or whatnot in a saturated industry, I feel like there's plenty of clients to go around for the amount of vendors. And it sometimes feels oversaturated. But at the same time, like you're being able to say yes or no to the clients that make sense for you. Like if it's a client that I don't think I'm going to be a good fit for, like I want it to be mutually beneficial. I'm not out here to just be like, yeah, give me your money. Like, you know, like if I was doing it for the money, I probably wouldn't be doing it in general. But
as any creative could say.
So I think it's really important to have those relationships. And I think that's something that I feel like helps us stand out, is being able to say like, hey, I don't think I'm the best fit for the thing that you want, but here's a friend of mine who also does a really good job that I think you'd be better fit with.
Do you find yourself doing that really often, or do you feel like most of the clients that are coming to you are already a good fit based on like the information you've posted or had online, things like that?
That's a great question. I do think over the years we've kind of like found our space a bit more. I think starting out it was very much like I'm a good fit, I'm not a good fit, like, you know, maybe 50-50. And as the years have come, I'm really only saying no to maybe like 2 or 3 inquiries a year, because for the most part people have seen what we've posted or they've worked with vendors that we've worked with, and so we'll get a recommendation from a venue or a vendor that is like, hey, I think this planner would be good for your style. Or even like, for example, one of our clients that we're working with right now was a bridesmaid at a recent wedding, and she's like, I've been a bridesmaid a lot of times, but this one felt the best. So like I want that feeling for my day as well.
That's amazing.
And so like that was really sweet.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So it was nice for me to kind of get that feedback and be like, okay, well, I'm happy that people are not just, you know, showing up and being like, oh, this was a pretty day.
Yeah.
But they're showing up and they're like, oh, this makes sense. I know I'm at Jordan and Seth's wedding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not just at a cookie cutter event or wedding. It makes sense, the things that are here and the feeling that I have when I'm here. So
So you have to turn less people away. Do you feel like that's gotten easier over the years though? Like do you feel more confident in your no's now than you did earlier on?
Yeah, especially starting out. Like it's so scary to start a business and be like,
don't want your money.
I don't know. Yeah, like I'll take it because I just need to do it, you know? And I think it is hard saying no at the beginning to things because you want to, you know, get your name out there. You want to do as much as you can. But, and it's not like I'm like, oh, I don't want to work with anybody. It's more like, hey, I can tell based on this conversation that you want things that I can't provide, or you have an idea of something that may not be actually logical, you know, like
realistic,
like you could, like you can kind of tell when speaking to someone if you think they're going to be a good fit. So I think those no's have come easier just in the sense that I have more confidence in my abilities or disabilities when it comes to things. Like I know things that I excel at or don't excel at.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to know that you're not faking it till you make it.
I did for a while.
We all did.
I think we all did at certain points.
Still do.
But it's really admirable. And I think we did an episode and we talked about what an ideal client was. And for me, it was trust. I wanted a client that trusted me.
So important.
And because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, they could book your highest package and that would be great or whatever. But at the same time, if they don't trust you, you're gonna have a miserable experience, right? They may sue you. I don't know. All of these things could happen, you know? And so learning to say no when you trust yourself is a huge skill.
I think that's also like, that is in those initial consultation calls with people, that's probably the number one thing I say. Like, you need to trust the people that you're hiring.
Mhm.
You know, I'm sure you've had it. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've had it. Like, there are a lot of clients that they hire you because they want your expertise, but then you realize throughout the process they're not really like trusting the things that you're saying, or
Mhm.
someone else is getting involved, whether it's like, my grandmother says blah
Yeah.
blah blah, like this is what
Yeah.
this should cost, and I'm like, I will take that, you know, like I'm hearing you, but also like you're hiring these people for their expertise, so please like trust the things that they're saying and doing. And if you're not trusting the vendor that you're hiring, like that's probably not a good sign. Like, don't,
Yeah. Not a good
whether
fit.
it's a planner or a caterer, like whatever it is, you know, just trust the people that you're hiring, because that's what's going to lead to a stress-free day for everyone, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think with you being like an event planner, that's such an interesting field because it ties in so much creativity, like making a day be about Jordan and Seth instead of somebody else, or but it's also very technical. So do you have certain things, like if someone were listening and they're interested in that kind of field, what are the things you look for in a client where you're like, this is going to let me know that this event is something that my business could take on versus like something that your business wouldn't want to do?
I know this sounds very like woo woo of me,
No.
but like I think a lot of it is honestly just like that connection.
Yeah.
Like you can pretty much tell in the first, I think, like 10 minutes of talking to someone, like, oh, I think this is someone that I'm going to get along with, or I could at least tolerate for,
Right.
you know, the next potentially 18 months. Like,
Mhm.
like these aren't short. I mean, obviously there are a lot of things that come up last minute, but for the most part, you're working with this person for a long time. And I think you can really tell whether it's a phone call, in person, even email, like you can kind of tell someone's vibe and be like, I think this is someone that we can mutually help each other, or I know that I'm not going to be a good fit for the things that this person wants or needs.
Yeah.
No,
So-
that makes sense. This is really off topic. What's the longest like planning time you've ever had with a client?
Man,
Specifically for a wedding or an event, either one,
Yeah.
I guess.
so 5 years, but a lot of this is because of COVID.
Okay,
so-
but still.
There was a couple that I loved so much. I still love, like we still keep in touch, but they hired me in like 2018, and the wedding was supposed to be sometime in 2019, and then it got postponed to 2020, but then COVID happened. So then that got pushed to, it was supposed to be May of this year, actually. They ended up back in like 2019, I think, maybe 2018 or 2019, they ended up like going to the courthouse and getting married so that their families could be there. And then they were in like med school and grad school and law school, and like all of these things, to where like life just happened, and now they actually just had a baby. So like,
Wow.
I'm super happy for them, but it ended up like not ever
Working out.
happening. And I think that, you know, some of the vendors they were able to like utilize for like newborn photos, or you know, whatever
Right.
it ended up being, but they were the best, and I loved working with them. But it was so funny because there were so many changes throughout the process that it never worked out. And I'm like sad that it never happened, because I'm
Right.
like, okay, you've worked with someone for 5 years
That
at
is
this
a
point.
long time. That's like a third
And there
of your business.
Yeah, and there were
Truly.
so many iterations of that
Of the wedding
wedding. Like,
day.
first it was like 150 people, and it was going to be in Memphis, and then it was like 80 people, and then it was like, well, maybe 50 people because of COVID, and then it was like, well, actually I have older family members, so now we're not going to do it. We're going to postpone it till after med school, and it's going to be in Arizona. Like, it changed multiple
Wow.
times. So yeah, 5
it ever
years, but that
in-
is obviously not typical.
Was it ever
I was
in
just
Nashville?
curious.
No, it was never going to be in Nashville. It was, they had a family home, like her grandparents, I believe, in Memphis, and then they actually live in Arizona. So then when everything changed, they were like, well, we'll just do it here. And
Does your company, do you travel a lot for events?
a good amount,
Yeah.
yeah. We've done quite a few in California because I'm from there. So a lot in California. We've done quite a lot in Charleston, South Carolina. We've done, you know, Memphis, Kentucky, kind of like all over the place. But we always like traveling, so it's fun to kind of go somewhere else and see a new place. And
Yeah.
as a planner, I feel like the job is the same no matter where you do it. Obviously, we
Yeah,
have
that
like
makes sense.
relationships with vendors here, but as far as like logistically making something happen, it doesn't matter if it's here or Mexico, or if it's 10 people or 1,000 people. Like, the logistics are still the same. It's just like your budget that's going to change based on those things,
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's amazing. Speaking of vendors,
Yeah.
kind of you live in this space where you are kind of cross marketing between clients and vendors. I don't think, obviously, it's a little different. You're not selling to a vendor. The vendor's not necessarily hiring you per se. But like you were just saying, of making relationships and having a business that has been around for so long now. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that, or maybe how your business has gone about that?
Yeah. Well, marketing in general, I'm terrible. Like I've never like paid for advertising anywhere. I would say 95% of our business is like word of mouth or like a
amazing.
referral from someone or something,
I
or
think that's
they've
like the
been
best
to an event.
way to be and
Yes,
most
it is.
sustainable.
It is. It's worked out to my benefit, luckily. Mostly because I'm just like terrible at it. Like I don't think about marketing. It's just never been something I'm good at. Like I actually have had a few client like consultation calls with people that are like, "Oh, we didn't know if you were still in business because you haven't posted on Instagram in 8 months." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll repost things that I'm tagged in, but I just don't think about it." And I know that's so terrible, but
No.
like,
But in this world, creatives have been forced to become marketers.
But I kind of love that because I think it gives hope to people who maybe aren't great at marketing,
I
don't feel
agree.
confident in it, that you can
Yeah.
still have a really successful business and not fall for the fact that you have to be like an influencer.
Especially in this day and age.
yeah,
Yes.
I
love that.
think I would love to be better at it, but I think as like an elder millennial as well, like I grew up in a time where I had it and didn't have it, so it's not like top of mind for me.
Yeah.
To where it feels like a full-time job to like create content and remember like I know who the photographers are all the time because I know where I got the pictures from, but I'm like, okay, this wedding was 3 years ago. Who is the hair and makeup artist? Because I want to post it and I want to be able to tag everyone so that everybody gets credit for the picture, but it's just like a lot of extra back work that I know sounds terrible, but I just like I don't
No, it
think
is
about
true.
it.
I don't think it's an elder millennial thing because I'm Gen Z and I feel the same way.
Like, thank you.
But I think a majority of my clients are also word of mouth, and like I would love for that to be even better than it is.
Yeah.
But like I think that's a good place to be in. Like it's not something you have to apologize for. You're doing something right. Because
Thank you.
if you have so many
are.
people coming to you via word of mouth, I think it's proof that you're giving a really good product and service, and that people are recommending it to others.
Yeah. And it's not just because they saw your cool reel on Instagram.
Yeah. And I think to me that
like,
kind of
that's amazing.
Thank you. I think to me that kind of is in a way like my way of marketing is like making people feel heard and cared about at these events and like being responsible when you're at a venue, you know, like I obviously know like there are so many planners in town and I'm sure all of us do things a bit differently, but like it's always important for me to like, you know, check in, check out, check in throughout the day. I'm not just like there one time, you know, like I want to be able to like go to places more than once. And so I feel like building those relationships with those vendors and venues is important, and making sure that, again, going back to my team, like I'm thankful that I trust them to where if I can't be somewhere, I know that they're going to uphold the same standards that I would, so that they're not like ruining it for the business as a whole, you know, like that's important.
Yeah, that's amazing.
No, that's really great.
I had a question about your team and now I'm blanking. Oh yeah. When did you start building a team? Did you always have like a team, or was it a gradual build the busier
It was
you got?
definitely gradual. None of them are like full-time. Most of them are like day of help. I don't really have I don't have anyone kind of like on the back end like answering emails or anything like that. Part of that is probably like a control issue, and the other part of it is just
Guilty.
like I want to be involved. I feel like
Same.
if I were to hand my emails off to somebody, I'd be like,
yeah,
oh, okay, so what's happening? You know, like
Right.
I
Yeah,
want
you wouldn't know.
that. But the building the team was very gradual. For the first year or two, my husband was very much like the brawn. Like he would like lift the tables and put them into place, and I would, you know, do the rest. But I've always had somewhere between like 3 and 7 people And I'm never going to go to an event, even like a small, like 50-person event. Like I'm never going to have less than like 3, including me there, because there's always something that's going to happen. And I feel like your job as a planner is to, that things are going to go wrong, but your job is to make sure that nobody else knows that they went wrong at the end of the day.
Yes.
So like,
That's a fun description.
We've had, a groomsman, like, I don't even know how this happened. We've had a groomsman whose like sole came off of his shoe. So like I had to send someone to like TJ Maxx and like buy him a pair of dress shoes. Like there are like
crazy.
Just things that happen. So like you need multiple people there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know sometimes I probably like overschedule my team. Like sometimes I'll have like 5 or 6 people and you really only need 3. But like I'm happy to pay extra to have the help that I need there just in case something happens.
No, it's really hard when you're another vendor at like a large event and you can't find the planner and you need them for some reason, important or not, but you have like a question or something that you have to go over. So that's amazing to hear, I feel like, from other vendor perspectives. Do you feel like you get word of mouth via other vendors, or does it mostly come from clients?
I get a lot from venues, which is great. I don't know that I get a lot from other vendors. Maybe they've directed people my way, but most of the time people don't really say like, oh, so-and-so gave me your information.
Mm-hmm.
However, with that being said, I think a planner is sometimes the first one that they find. Yeah. So I feel like my job is to refer other vendors, but I don't know that many people, find a photographer first. And I mean, maybe they do. I'm sure it happens.
I feel like it's rare for me, but definitely, I feel like planners are the first.
I actually get a little stumped sometimes when people ask me for vendor referrals because I'm like, I don't
send them to Ashley. That's the answer.
I think as a planner, it's like one of the first things that people hire. I think typically the only one that they have before a planner would be a venue. And I think it's probably 50-50 for me. Like sometimes people come with nothing and other times people are like, oh, I'm getting married at this venue. They recommended you or whatnot,
That's so cool. Now on to our favorite subject.
We were already talking about this.
Yes. I had to say stop.
We were like just chatting away and Jordan was like, I think you're ruining the episode right now.
All right. Managing business and motherhood. You are a mother of 3 young children.
Yeah.
And on top of that, your husband is a touring musician.
Yeah.
So tell us how you do it.
I don't. No, we were saying I feel like it's really important to pick a thing each day to be good at, because that was like one of the best pieces of advice I got when our first was little, because I was kind of drowning in like motherhood and work and like being a friend, being a wife, like keeping the household running, like who's going to do laundry or go grocery shopping? Like there's just so many things that like the mental load of motherhood is so overwhelming. Yeah. You can have the world's greatest partner, but like a lot of times that it kind of just like falls on the mom naturally. And I don't even think it's anyone's fault. I just think like we're kind of wired differently.
Yeah. I feel like also like when you have a traveling spouse, it doesn't matter how great they are. They're gone most of the time.
Right. Yeah.
Or if you're my husband, he's amazing. Daughter loves him, but I'm the preferred parent. And like there are things he just can't do. Like, and that's on the baby.
Yeah. Well, luckily in my situation, when my husband's home, he's like very much home and, is like the world's greatest dad, like far more patience than I could ever even dream of having, which is really great because we're very opposite in that sense. I'm like, I've heard too many noises and now I need to disassociate for a little bit because otherwise I'm just a mean person. So to answer your question, I don't think anyone just like has it handled like, oh, well, I'm just going to do really well at all these things. I think every day is kind of a battle where you're like, okay, I know I have 6 meetings today. I'm not going to be the world's best mom, or I'm not going to go grocery shopping. They're going to eat pizza tonight, you know? But then there are other days that I'm like, I kind of have a light workload. Like, for example, tomorrow I'm like taking them on this weird, like homeschool apple picking field trip thing to where I'm like, that's fun. And that's something that I'm going to enjoy doing with them.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not going to get to emails tomorrow. Or if I do, it's going to be when I'm feeding a baby at 11 o'clock at night. And I'm sure, I know there are ways to like better use your time. Like you can schedule that to go out in the morning so that you still hold those boundaries. But I'm also like, that's another thing to think about. So I'm just going to send the email when I can, and you can respond when you can, but this is when I got to it, sort of thing. I do have it's gotten better over the years, but I do have a lot of anxiety about that. Like, as the owner operator of this business, it's up to me to respond. It's not like I'm answering to someone and I'm like, oh, I missed this deadline. It's like, if I want to keep my business going, I need to respond to things in a timely manner. So I do feel like I'm very quick to respond to things, but earlier in my career, it led to a lot of like boundary issues, which I think I've gotten better throughout the years with that. And a lot of those are kind of just like they've naturally happened. Like as I've had less time to be anxious about not responding immediately.
Right.
So it kind of just happened that way. But I think as a business owner with motherhood as well, like the balancing the boundaries is more of the issue than balancing the workload. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's really hard to be like, I want to be a successful mother and wife and business owner all at the same time. But some days you're better at one than the other.
Yeah.
And I think you shouldn't fault yourself for not succeeding in all three of them at once, you know?
That's great advice. I need to hear it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've got this.
For anyone who doesn't know, Jordan is pregnant. She's having a baby.
It's me and my husband.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were discussing before the episode as well, which we were just chatting away. But it was along the lines of like, I feel like there's this pressure that a lot of moms have right now, maybe parents in general, but like as childcare costs rise, that you should be this full-time working person from home who also is taking care of a kid. And I don't know anyone who can do a good job being a parent while working full-time from a computer, which we're all doing.
Yeah.
But I also don't know anyone who can do a good job working and being a good parent. Like, maybe there are people who can, but I think most of us can't, and we have to find other ways to balance that, which is funny because the episode that we just recorded on our own for a different topic, we kind of touched on that as well, that a privilege of being artists is getting to kind of make our own schedule and not have to feel guilty that we're not following like a typical corporate, like 9 to 5.
I'm very thankful for that. So I actually work for another company as well called CRS, Country Radio Seminar. So I am helping with a large scale event. So it's still event planning, but I'm an employee of them.
Okay.
But I'm so thankful that it's a really small team. We're all really close and we all work remotely. So even with that, before we were going into an office every day, and then COVID happened a couple months after we had our first kid, and we never went back into the office. So I kind of just got a 5-year maternity leave.
Wow.
Which obviously like COVID had a lot of downfalls, but for me personally, I'm like, okay, I've been able to, it's been a blessing in disguise because I've been able to be home with all 3 of my kids while working remotely. And like that in itself has its challenges, but I feel like I'd be missing out on so much if I had to go to an office every day. And then, like you said, childcare is so expensive that we were like, what's the point of working if everything you make is going toward someone else watching your kids?
Right.
And then you're like, well, what am I doing here? Like,
Yeah.
what is bringing me joy? What is the purpose? I have about a negative amount of interest in being a stay-at-home mom. I love my kids, but like, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
I've never wanted to do that. Like, I enjoy working. I enjoy having outlets. So I'm just thankful that I'm able to do both because I don't want to be home, but I also don't want to go to an office every day and not be around them, you know? So
yeah, that's such a weird place to be in. I love that you said that. I feel the same way. I'm like, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, but I also don't want to send my kids somewhere all the time. So I'm grateful for the balance. We talked about this a little bit. So you guys have the privilege of being able to have an au pair, which you said is super helpful. How do you maybe find yourself setting boundaries as your kids get older with them like understanding when you're working and when you're being a mom? Or do you feel like
it's really hard to say because they're all under the age of 5 and have no concept of anything. For example, our daughter is almost 3, and about every 14 minutes she says, "What time is it?" So like she has no concept of anything. But we've actually, like, little tip and trick that we've learned recently is, like, instead of saying, like, oh, we can do that in 5 minutes, because they have no idea what that
Yeah.
means. If you're like, you can take 3 more turns at this game and then you're done. Because then they understand that concept. It's like a
okay.
tangible thing for them. Or like, when this like mini episode of Bluey is over, then it's time for dinner. Or, you know, like if you put like something tangible attached with that, it's helpful. As far as boundaries, they have 0. So I have no idea how to answer that question. But I think as they get older, we'll probably develop something.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit them in front of a screen all day, but also sometimes if Wes is out of town, I'm like, I have to take this call. Can you, like, I will give you ice cream if you can be quiet for like 12 minutes and just like watch a mini episode. They're also still too young to like sit there and watch a full movie. So
but
I'm
I
like,
mean, even if it's not a
12
mini
minute
episode,
episodes. Yeah.
Bluey episodes are only like
They're
7
great.
minutes long. They're perfect.
But they're a little bit too short if you're having a phone call, which is the problem. So I'm like, could you watch this 2-hour movie so that I could focus? Probably not, but yeah. So
that's amazing.
I don't know anything about boundaries or balance at this point.
No, I was so guilty for a while. I finally let go of it, but my husband also travels, so like every single morning, some of the only screen time Fawn gets during the day is that she watches like a cartoon or like a YouTube video or something while I shower and get dressed for the day, because I just can't do that with her. And
I don't shower.
She says no showers.
But I was feeling really guilty about it, and then I'm like, you know what?
No.
She's gonna forever live in a world where there's like television and distractions,
True.
and she can handle this 25 minutes a day. But she does now, like, she has a limited number of phrases that she knows, and one of them is now, do you want to go watch a cartoon? And
I love
she'll
that.
just like run to her like little activity center that I'll set her in to watch it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I most of the time just have to put shower on the calendar so that Wes knows, like, hey, you're responsible for the kids so that I can clean myself.
This is real life advice, everybody. Write it down.
Moms don't shower.
I love
No, I'm just
it.
kidding.
Well, I think this has been so amazing. At the end of our interview episodes, we have come up with a question that we just want to ask every single person.
Yeah.
So we're going to ask you, if you could tell other creatives one thing, what would it be?
Man,
No, I put you on the spot.
I know you
Sorry.
said no serious questions.
Doesn't have to be too crazy.
I think it's important to, going back to what we said before about trust, it's important to trust yourself. And I think that goes for any phase that you're in, you know, whether it's, I really want to do that. I'm miserable at my corporate job. I really want to like go be a trapeze artist. I mean, whatever it is, but like you have to trust yourself. Like if you feel passionate about something, go for it. Like you only live once, as Drake says.
Yes.
You know, like,
Thank you.
like do the thing that makes you happy and trust that it will work out. And if it doesn't work out, trust that you will figure a way out of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that looks like starting a business. That looks like in the middle, if you have a COVID year and you're like, how am I going to pay my bills? Trust that like you will figure out a side hustle or a side hustle on top of your side hustle.
Right.
Like, whatever that looks like, just like trust yourself enough to know that like you can figure it out, you know?
That's awesome. I think we need to hear it.
Yeah. And I know that we already discussed that you aren't very active on social media, but if someone wanted to find your business in some way, where would they go?
The Instagram handle is Silver Celebrations. The website is silvercelebrationsnashville.com. I try to update as much as I can.
But she's good at the email.
It's just, I'm
She'll
great
respond.
at an email. If you email or text, you will get an immediate response.
You will.
So
If
fill
you
out the
DM me on
contact
Instagram,
form.
yeah. Instagram, I think I have my notifications turned off. So unless I'm logged in, I will not see it.
There you go.
But we're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley.
Thank you for
No,
having
this
me.
was amazing.
It was
Thank you
fun.
for joining us today.
Yeah.
See you next time. Okay, bye.